Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo marking, while commending the nominees, also chided the president for the style of communicating, as well as what he calls the thought appointment. But South Dime Member of Parliament Roxanne Dapiamekpo countered that. Listen to excerpts of what transpired on the floor.
In the 8th Parliament, under President Akufo-Addo, Right Honourable Speaker made an observation, very profound. Communications to the House must first be known to the House before it gets into the media. This House should not be a secondary recipient of that which is its bona fide. I do not appreciate the fact that a statement will be issued when Parliament has not already received the communication. Parliament should be the first to receive the communication before it gets out into the media. And that was the position taken by Right Honourable Speaker. So I would want to draw attention of the executive to this matter, especially when the acting spokesperson of the executive is one of our own, my own respected colleague, Felix Ofozukwati, very, very resilient guy.
May I seek your leave to respond to some matter that the minority leader in his submission related in this floor. Mr. Speaker, we are guided by our rules, and we don't say this cliche whimsically. They carry some import. Mr. Speaker, the minority leader, in trying to say that the president engaged in an illegality by releasing his announcement to the media before forwarding same to the House. Mr. Speaker, with your leave, let me read Order 65 of our standing orders. Mr. Speaker, Order 65(1) is to this effect: communication to the House. Communication from the President to the House shall be made to the Speaker in writing, signed by the President, or in the absence of the President, by the Vice President, or by a minister authorized by the President. 2. Communication from the President shall relate to matters including, in this case, a ministerial or deputy ministerial nomination. Mr. Speaker, the President has done exactly that, and yet the minority leader sought to create the impression that the President has no right to make a public announcement of this information prior to making the communication available to Parliament. And I think that this record ought to be set straight that there's no guideline.
So that's the Member of Parliament for South Dine, Roxanne Nelson Eche Dapiamekpo. Let's go on the phone line and speak to a political analyst and senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Jonathan Asantiotre. Doc, good evening to you. It's the first time you're speaking this year, so Happy New Year, sir.
Good evening, my speechless Valentina.
I hope you are doing well.
I'm doing fine. I'm just tired because I did not receive the gift from your company over the Christmas.
Your gift is around, so whenever I see you, I'll deliver to you personally.
Hey.
So let's look at the first nomination. 3 people: Dr. Kezala Toba Forcing, John Abdullahi Jinapo for Energy, and Dr. Dominic Akorintenga Ayeni for Attorney General. Are these people the solid team to reset the country, in your view?
They are not only the solid people who have been given such portfolios. I think that even before they got their approval, the minority chief whip himself has already approved them by comment. And let me start by saying that good evening to yourself and to your listeners. When we talk about issues of energy, when the NDC was in the minority and in opposition, I mean, when it comes to speaking in plain language in terms of communication, issues of energy and of power, I don't think that anybody could surpass the performance. He held the fort whenever the majority then obfuscated the issues of energy. He came out and cleared the air. Whenever he warned us of, for example, a certain quantity of megawatts that is being shared, government will try to cover that. We will find out that that is the case. So we are talking about someone who was one step ahead of the NDC of President Akufo-Addo's government. And so if you surpass him and give that particular portfolio to somebody else, then it means that you, the president, that you said you have the experience, then it means you don't really have the experience. Secondly, when you talk of someone who has legal experience, who has really taught, legal jurisprudence near there. Hey, sorry. I thought it was so if you are looking at someone, yes, who is into legal jurisprudence, teaching the law for a long period, having quite a number of people under him, having trained these people, then of course Dr. Haini does not come, any further away from that particular portfolio. Apart from that, he's a very fair-minded person. He is one person who is not just, opposed to opposition's sake. If his side is wrong, he will say that the NDC is wrong in this direction, and he will give his reasons. I think that is the kind of person that we need as a nation, that fair-minded person, to lead that particular portfolio, because we are looking at issues of justice. And so if you do not have someone who will exact justice, but to go on vendetta and vengeance, then the law will mean something else other than what is supposed to be. But of course, you cannot say all this without leaving the very fantastic personality of Dr. Akufo. One particular person who became a thorn in the flesh of the NPP government, to the point that the Attorney General had to come up with a trump-up charge to prosecute him or persecute him, as he rightly pointed out, as a way of cowering him or intimidating him or shutting him up. This did not in any way put a hint of fear in that man. And he fought to the point where they were able to outdo the Attorney General then, Governor Jam Odame, whom I am very sure that in not too distant future, he must go and explain why he had to use that particular, I don't know whether that submarine tactics of trying to outdo someone whom he was prosecuting. He will have to answer to that particular. This is a man who was one step ahead of the government of Akufo in terms of finance. He spoke about the fact that Ghana were going to get a haircut. They denied it. The president denied it. It came to pass. He spoke about we going to the IMF. They denied it. The late Dr. Kuma said that, no, you are not going to IMF tomorrow. So people were saying that, the majority leader, what is happening, blah, blah, blah. And I said that, look, there is no way the finance ministry will not be given to Dr. Akufo. There is no way. Because the president knows who are made of solid stuff to run the affairs. But if you see the three appointments that he's made, they are crucial at this point. Why? Because the finances of the nation, right, ought to be handled in such a way that the first item of a small thematic area will be achieved. Stabilization of the economy. And the macro indicator stabilization. So you need someone who is a finance guru, who is on top of his brief to handle that aspect. Now you took over, you're already facing an energy crisis, of which the outgoing president, the transitional team, outwitted you without telling you the exact truth. Whatever they said they were going to do, they didn't do it. So there is no need taking someone who is a novice in that area. And so John Jinapor really fits that particular person. The only problem I have with the three nominations is the fact that I felt the president ought to have added a fourth one, making it 4. Another one making it 4 at this point in time. And that should have been the Greek ministry. Because if you look at the issue of 24-hour economy. Yes, he spoke about agriculture and agribusiness, right? And so he's looking at the productive sector. So if you are given the impression that that particular policy is as important as anything else, then that ought to have been passed. And for me, I like the way the first 3 have been. I don't see how the president will surpass somebody like Honorable Ekopoku.
For our Greek ministry?
Certainly.
Okay.
Because this is a man that the current minority leader even said that when he puts out figures, or facts, you cannot challenge him because he knows his stuff.
Okay. Now, you've talked about these persons. The 3 first nominees have all been deputy ministers before. Ato Forson was deputy minister to Setekpe. Dr. Dominic Akorintinga Anyini was deputy minister to Apiopon. And then John Jinapo was also deputy minister to Dr. Kwame Donko. All in these sectors that they've been appointed to or elevated as ministers. One will say there's a difference between talking and doing the work, because we've seen it in the previous administration. Before Ken Ofori-Atta became the finance minister, and when the NDC was in power under John Mahama, he talked severally about taxes, about the fact that Ghanaians were suffering, the depreciation of the cedi and all that, and he became finance minister, and Ghanaians were complaining about the cedi and how he's doing it.
The little difference, Valentina, before you continue with your question, Mr. Ofori-Atta had never worked in the public sector before. All these 3 had worked in the public sector. And being deputies, if my memory serves me right, they were all first-time MPs then. And with the experience of being about 3rd time, yes, in their 3rd time, right, having seen government opposition for 8 years, that's making it 12. So now, 2024 elections, if they hit 2020, that would have mean they would have spent 16 years in Parliament. So they have had that experience in the public sector, liaising both with the public and the private. So it cannot be the same experience. Mr. Ken Ofori was virtually, in the private sector. He never had any public sector. He never had any brushes with the public sector. If he did so, it was from a private perspective.
Okay, so you think that, yes, you've just said it, their experience puts them at par or above the other colleagues. There's also the concern about the thought appointment that the minority leader raised, that if you say you are ready, why won't you go ahead and name all your ministers at once, let the committee vet them, get them to work, because you have limited time to work?
Oh, it's not as if he has limited time to work. He says that within 14 days, he will have the full complement of his cabinet. How many days is he in office? If today is not the 2nd day, today is probably the 3rd day. What is today's date? Is it 9th? Yes. If today is 9th, then in terms of 7th, that was the installation. He had no time to work. So he's only worked for 2 days, yesterday and today. And in 2 days, he's brought 3 cardinal cabinet ministers. And that fits perfectly within the demands of today. Issues of energy crisis. The committee that the chief, what is it called, the chief of staff set up.
Yes, the 12-member committee that the chief of staff
he was
is
the
leading.
one chairing it. So, I mean, you know the caliber of the person. That's the more reason why you made him chair. An important, committee such as this, because to face doomsday at this point in time when we all know very well that the president and his team did not act in good faith. But of course, it will only take a while before people will begin to blame you. The goodwill will begin to erode. So you will have to act. And people knew that because you have that experience of which you touted it, that's the more reason why they overlooked at Obama and gave you the mandate. So there is no need complaining. Of course, he says he's not going to hide anything, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be truthful to the people of Ghana. He's already started that. He's meeting with the World Bank, the ADB, and all those important personalities. I think, was it yesterday? Yes.
Yes.
The media was there. They beamed it. So he's looking at transparency. And I think that it's really, really started well. There's nothing that you can say, that is wrong about it. Then it means that you don't really appreciate what you call a test.
Well, Doc, we are very grateful. I'm sure that tomorrow, when the other names come, we'll definitely engage you. Thank you very much for your time. Dr. Jonathan Asantiotre is a political analyst and senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Those are his thoughts about the first set of appointments that have coming for the Finance Ministry, the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, as well as the Energy Ministry. I'm sure you also have some thoughts about the names that have come up. Let me hear from you. Go on Facebook.